So Judaism and Christianity. We live in a culture, in a society in which we talk about Judeo-Christian values, and we hyphenize Judaism and Christianity. We blend them as if they are one. It's important to recognize that there are fundamental distinctions between Judaism and Christianity. First and foremost, the idea that Christianity came to replace the Torah in many ways, replace the obligation of mitzvot upon those that are adherent to God's law as set out in Torah. And this gets to a fundamental idea about God changing his mind. Judaism believes very strongly that God is infinite, God is timeless. That which is timeless doesn't change. When we talk about beauty, so there are things that are beautiful that are very contextualized. They're beautiful now because it's in vogue, because it's in fashion. But a year from now, that's so last year, right? It's no longer in fashion. It's no longer beautiful. And then there are things that we call timeless, things of timeless beauty. Timeless beauty means that come back whenever, wherever, whatever era it's going to be, this will be beautiful. This has enduring, timeless beauty. Judaism believes that God is timeless, that God's will is timeless, that God's will doesn't change. So the notion that God has a new testament, that God has a new covenant, that God has new ideas about what constitutes a good life, what constitutes a righteous life, what constitutes a Jewish life. Those notions are fundamentally and inherently impossible within a Jewish understanding of God. Understanding God as Judaism understands God precludes the possibility for there to be another will, for there to be another testament, for there to be another covenant, for there to be another chosen people, for there to be another path with which to connect. Now, with the following caveat, Judaism respects different paths. The Jew has his or her path of connecting with God, and others may have their own. Judaism famously does not encourage the idea that someone who's not Jewish should become Jewish. The idea in Judaism is that you can find a connection as you are. But for someone to say that God fundamentally rewrote the laws of Judaism and came up with a new idea is something that is just impossible within Judaism. Now, there are many other differences between Judaism and Christianity, but this is one core distinction that I think is very important to keep in mind. So Islam believes that God communicated with an individual prophet and thus spawned an entire religious movement. Judaism, at its core, is founded upon a collective divine revelation. This is something that genuinely is unparalleled in any other religious belief. But the idea that one person is the only one who hears God's word and then lets everyone else know is something that is not in the Jewish tradition as far as the origin story of Judaism. The origin story of Judaism, yes, God spoke to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and to Moses, but it's the divine revelation at Sinai that really sets the agenda for Judaism. It establishes the credibility of Judaism, of Moses, and of the Torah and mitzvot. So Islam is based on one prophet who has certain revelations that one could either choose to believe or choose not to believe. So even without getting into the particulars of the religion, and Islam is a monotheistic religion, but without getting into the particulars of the religion itself, the notion that the entire validity and credibility is resting on the shoulders of one individual is something that doesn't exist within Judaism in the context of mass divine revelation.
If you like that video, hit the subscribe button and notification bell below for hours of the best Jewish content online.